And this morning we are here with Jamie Stevens and Mallory Martin from Dolphin Research Center Training Institute. We're glad to see you guys joining us today for our webinar about our Occupational Associate's Degree Program in fabulous Grassy Key, Florida. Jamie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for Dolphin Research Center?
Hi everyone, I'm the Assistant Director of the Dolphin Research Center Training Institute, and I am an instructor on classes as well as a trainer that works hands-on with the dolphins and sea lions. And this is Mallory Martin. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I attended the Dolphin Research Center Training Institute and graduated in May of 2017. And then after that, I was hired on first as a seasonal position for the summer. And then after that, I was actually extended to stay full-time. And now I am the newest trainer for DRC. And I love my job. I do both the sea lion training and dolphin training, which is amazing.
Excellent, ladies. Well, let's go ahead and get started and talk a little bit about our Occupational Associate's Degree Program. As you can see, that is the fabulous Florida Keys facility right there in the corner. Jamie, why don't you tell us a little bit about how DRCTI got its start?
We started the Training Institute because we found that there was a need for furthering and more education for people who wanted to get into the field of dolphin training specifically. So we are located on the grounds of Dolphin Research Center, which is in the heart of the Florida Keys in Grassy Key. We were founded as a nonprofit corporation in 1984 by Jane Shannon Rodriguez and Armando or Mandy Rodriguez. And their goal was to ensure that the dolphins had a home here for life, and in doing so, to establish a unique education and research facility. So with that, we also have something called Dolphin Lab, which is a week-long, essentially camp program, where people can come and learn a little bit more about what we do, about training and things like that. So we decided during those times, people asked us, well, you know, we need more information, we need more experience to get a job in the field. A lot of entry-level positions require a certain amount of experience. And so one of the students said, well, why don't you guys offer a formal degree? So we decided that we would start the institute and offer the Occupational Associate's degree.
Awesome, Jamie. Now, if someone was interested in participating in this program, about how long is the program?
It's a 9-month program, so 36 weeks. And the program is entirely on the Dolphin Research Center facility. So it's 85% hands-on with the animals. Students work directly with the dolphins and the sea lions, as well as our family of exotic parrots. We have 9 different parrots and different species of parrots that students get to learn, because essentially the philosophies, the training techniques, they can transcend all species. So anything from your dog or cat at home to terrestrial animals that you might find in a zoological facility.
Fabulous. Now, we do know that a lot of schools have to be licensed and accredited, and I know that's a kind of a big topic in the news when it comes to different post-secondary institutions. What type of licensing and accreditation do we have at Dolphin Research Center Training Institute?
In the state of Florida, we are licensed by the Commission of Independent Education, and we are nationally accredited by the Accrediting Commission of Career Schools and Colleges, also known as ACCSC. And we were named in 2017-2018 School of Excellence by ACCSC, which means that we had excelled in our education practices, and we follow all the standards that they have set for us, and we had an excellent graduating statistics as well as employment in the field upon graduation.
Awesome. Now, do we offer every single course that a student would need to take, or are there different prerequisites that they would need to take before coming to Dolphin Research Center Training Institute?
We do have some prerequisites that are required for students to have before attending school here at the Training Institute. And as you can see on the screen, it's a biological science. So it can be anything from zoology or biology, and we like to have a lab accompany that class. A type of communication class, including public speaking or acting. A lot of what we do is presentation to guests that come to our facility. So we're constantly sharing different facts about the dolphins, whether it be about their dolphinality or personality, or about facts about dolphins in general. A behavioral science like general psychology. A lot of what we do with them is reading behavior, and psychology gives a nice background to that type of observations. a language, English composition, and then mathematics, statistics, or college algebra. Some of our students, like Mallory, came to us with a bachelor's degree already, and that seems to be a popular route for students to take. So I don't know, Mallory, if you want to share a little bit about your experience as far as your education goes.
Sure. So I entered college in 2012, a tiny school in Buffalo, New York called Canisius College. From there, I got my bachelor's degree in animal behavior, ecology, conservation with a dual in psychology. And then a minor in anthrozoology, so the study of human-animal relationships, which really helped then attending DRCTI, because one of the very first classes that we do is building relationships, so learning just more about individual dolphins, their dolphinalities, how we can blend and help them learn better in different situations. So my bachelor's degree definitely helped, and then this degree in focusing more on marine mammal behavior care and training definitely helped in just, figuring out how to then enhance and train different behavioral aspects to their daily lives, whether it's medical training, just any type of fun training, just getting to know them personality-wise. The school definitely helped in just furthering my education in the behavioral aspect and training aspect, which is really what you need to succeed in this field.
Excellent, ladies. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the application and acceptance process. So we'll start with Jamie. Why don't you tell us about what the process is like? And then Mallory, when she's done, why don't you tell us a little bit about what your experience was? And, a lot of people kind of have, I think, a little bit of a fear of applying for something like this because they feel like it's, it's a super competitive field. And that is very true. It is a very competitive field. But I feel like a lot of people are a little shy about applying because they feel like it's an incredibly competitive program as well.
Okay. Application process, students start by turning in all of their documents by December 31st. And if the qualified applicants are chosen, they will come down for a one-day on-site interview process, which is located here at Dolphin Research Center. And that generally takes place in February or March. And what students or applicants will experience is a panel interview where there's about 5 of our staff members asking various questions to the applicant. They will do a presentation, and that just kind of helps us see a little bit more about how their presentation skills are. There is a swim test where applicants will do their swim test that we have our applicants for jobs do here at DRC. And it's not necessarily something that they have to pass every aspect of it, but it's more of our physical aptitude instructor seeing if it's something that they will be able to improve on and that they will be kind of coachable with those different aspects of the swim test. And then there's a fish house test. And with the fish house test, students do learn everything there is to know about preparing the diets for the animals. And that also includes going up into our freezer, which holds about 80,000 pounds of fish. But each day we have to go in there and take out fish that needs to be prepped for the next day. So part of that aspect is them going up into the freezer and getting the amount of fish that's necessary. And sometimes those boxes can weigh up to about 50 pounds. So not only are we looking to see what their physical capabilities are, if they can lift those boxes, but also to see how well they work together, because they do it in a group. Then our selection committee will choose the top 8 applicants to enroll into our program. We do offer on-site housing, which houses up to 6 students, and it's on a first-come, first-served basis. And you can see a picture of kind of the common area in that house right there on the screen. And then if we do happen to have students who are not going to live in that house, we do have assistance to help find housing within the general area of Grassy Key and Marathon. So Mallory, can you share a little more about your experience?
Sure. So back in 2016 now, before I graduated college, I knew that in order to get more into the field that I need more experience. I had done internships previously, had done lots of volunteering growing up in my lifetime at the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo, but I know that in order to get in the field, a lot of different facilities require at least 2 years of a paid position, which was super, super hard because a lot of people wanted the experience before they gave you the 2 years paid experience. So that was really tricky. So I knew that in order to get, into the field, I needed some more background. So just one day, it was really late at night, but I decided just, I needed to find out what I was doing for the rest of my life. And I knew that this was the route I wanted to take. So I found Dolphin Research Center's Training Institute online. I was just typing in, dolphin training. The first thing that popped up was the application. and I needed to find out if any of my prerequisites qualified. So I ended up sending a few emails to different people, and they got back to me right away saying, you know, awesome, these work, totally apply. And of course I was nervous. I mean, I was applying for something that I wanted for the rest of my life. And so when I applied, I sent it through the mail, because you have to have it postmarked by December 31st of every year. When they got my information, I heard back through an email saying, awesome, you know, we'd love to have you for an on-site interview. So I booked my trip, and it was in February I had my interview. I came back down here. But during the meantime, between December and February, I started, you know, making up my presentation. How was I going to, you know, handle my on-campus interview? And then I had to start swimming, essentially. I was never a swimmer in life. And now I can say I'm a pretty good swimmer, thanks to the school. But I kind of started working out in the pool at college. And then when I came to do my on-campus interview, I think it was first we started with my swim tests. And like I mentioned, I wasn't great, but I didn't drown, so that's of course amazing. And because of that, just having, you know, a positive attitude is what you need in the field, no matter where you end up. So having a positive attitude and just room to grow really is what you need. And so after I did my swim test, I had my panel interview and my presentation. I ended up doing my presentation on palm oil and how it needs to be sustainable. And then, you know, different panel interview, asking different questions about, you know, where do you see yourself in the field, talking about, you know, how you define success, and different things like that. It's about a 20-minute interview. And then, you know, I left with good spirits, and I heard back about, I think it was a month later, again through email saying, you know, awesome job, congrats, you got in. And I was ecstatic. I mean, I was like through the roof, jumping up and down, so excited, because I knew that this is where I was going to go, and this is what I wanted to do. And because of that, then in August, I moved down here, and then I started my school year, which is incredible. Like Jamie said, 85% hands-on. You do a lot of classwork, but you need to know the basics and how to build the relationships and behavioral aspects, as I mentioned earlier. So before, you know, you start with the hands-on, it's getting, you know, them to be able to trust you, to be able to just see how they work with, you know, individuals. So after that, it was just kind of an amazing experience. I mean, 36 weeks of getting to do something that you wanted to do your entire life. So it was definitely an incredible experience. And I mean, it's pretty cool that this is where I am today. So all because of the Training Institute.
Fabulous. Thank you, ladies, both for sharing that. Mallory, thank you for sharing your story. And I think that's kind of like one of the big things too, is there's really no harm in applying and trying for the program and having a good time with it, because if this is your dream, this very well could be the place for you to make that happen. So if you're a little nervous or you have specific questions, just email us and we can see, you know, where you are. Do you have the type of experience you need to apply? Do you have the prerequisites you need to apply? So Jamie, I'm assuming that there are probably deadlines and dates like any other program. And, you know, I'm sure after this year, the dates that we have are for 2019 to 2020, but they'll probably change with the next year, which they can find on our website. So Jamie, can you tell us a little bit about what this year is going to look like?
Of course. So as we mentioned, the application period, all materials need to be postmarked by December 31st. Generally, on-site applicant interview period is going to be February 2019, and then acceptance is anywhere between March 1st and March 15th. We try to make our decisions as soon as possible and let people know as soon as possible so they can start making their plans. Enrollment period is March 16th to April 15th. Registration is on August 25th, and then orientation and the first day of classes for the upcoming year is going to be August 26th, 2019. And then, of course, you go through your entire year, 9 months, and then the last day of class is May 1st with graduation on May 2nd. And then shortly after, we do mail those degrees, and they should be mailed on June 1st of 2020.
Awesome. So again, if you're looking, oh my gosh, it's already past the deadline. It isn't yet at the time we're recording this, but if you do happen to see it later, just check our website and you can find out what the newest requirements will be and what those newest deadlines will be. And we'll be happy to help you get more information if you need it. So can you guys tell us a little bit about what the class size is for DRCTI? And how much attention can a student expect to get from their instructors, and how much time with the animals can a student expect to get?
Of course. So every student takes the same classes. Again, maximum is 8 students. So they're small classes. There's a lot of individualized attention to each student. Teacher to student ratio is over 2 to 1. So we do have a fairly nice faculty, and instructors are more than willing to spend extra time with any students that may need some additional help if at all necessary. But as you have heard already, about 85% of the time is spent hands-on with the animals. So anything from building the relationships, as Mallory mentioned before, you know, being down on the docks, interacting with the animals, learning what they like, what they don't like, and things like that. And then also anything from that to new training to spending time with the research department and learning why we're doing certain research with them. A lot of it is cognitive and a lot of it's observational. So students will get experience with both of those types of research. And then we also have 4 California sea lions. So as you can see on the screen, that's Karen. She is the oldest sea lion that lives here at DRC, and she's giving some eye drops in the picture. So husbandry training is one of the classes that students take as well. So they learn a lot about those different voluntary husbandry behaviors that we do as well.
Excellent. So more about the school. What type of class are you expecting to take? I mean, like what I know you've already mentioned specifically about the training and stuff, but are there additional courses? Like, will they learn about those presentations and that public speaking? Because I know you said that was very important, or about anything about veterinary?
Okay, of course. So students start off, as Mallory mentioned before, kind of learning the basics. So one of the first things we talk about is building relationships with the animals. You don't just come to school and get down on the dock and do a full-on session with the animals. So you build those relationships, whether it be through feeding, playtime, dock time, but you also have lectures on all of these things. So as you can see here, we have a list of some of the classes that we do offer. We talked about research already. Avian care and training. So we do have 9 birds, as mentioned before. And again, the training philosophies that we have with our animals, it goes across the board for any animal species. So anytime students move on from DRCTI, whether it's working with dogs or in a zoological setting, they bring a part of DRC's philosophy and training skills along with them. Principles of handling is essentially teaching students how to feed and how to work with the animals. Public speaking and animal interpretation, as I mentioned before, a lot of times trainers are constantly educating guests that come through our doors. We are also a public facility, so every single day that we are open, we have general admission, so people coming in just to learn about the animals. And it is the staff that are doing that and educating the animals. So students as well learn about various ways to speak with the public, and then they also do those presentations. So they're on microphone or they're in what we call our Dolphin Theater, giving PowerPoint presentations to small groups. So it can be anywhere from small groups of people to hundreds of people that they're speaking to. Exceeding government standards and regulations. So just like our school, we have to abide by certain standards and certain rules with our licensing and our accreditation. As a facility, as a marine mammal facility, we also have to have standards and regulations that we follow that are set by the government. And so it's important that students know that. So when they do move on into the field, they know what regulations need to be followed. Building relationships, we've talked about already. And then nutrition and medicine. Each of the dolphins has their own unique diets and their own vitamins and things like that that we give them on a daily basis for preventative measures, just like we take vitamins. And so students need to learn about the way that we figure out the poundage of fish that we do give to each of them. And it is based on their weight, their age, and their activity level. So we're able to weigh them, again, one of those voluntary husbandry behaviors that we can do with them, and figure out the caloric intake that they need to sustain a healthy weight. And then we can figure out the poundage from there. As you can see in one of the pictures that are on the screen right there, students are in our fish house prepping diets. And you can see quite a few buckets right there on the floor. Each dolphin has their own bucket for their breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's what's happening in that picture right there. And then behavior modification and training is new training, essentially. So trainers, that's what we do. We train. And part of training involves handling, and it involves building relationships and knowing how to communicate to an animal that doesn't necessarily speak our language. So we're watching their behavior to see if they're understanding what we're asking them to do, and we're training them in that process. So those are some of the classes. There are some other classes as well, like we have a controversy class. So there are some controversy of marine mammals in professional care, and we like to teach our students about that, just in case there's any questions about it, but also so they know what's going on within the marine mammal field as a whole. I don't know if Mallory, you want to share some of your favorite classes with them and some of your experience with that?
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, I believe I said that building relationships was one of my favorite classes. So as Jamie mentioned, before we even get down and feed them, it's just getting to know each individual dolphin. We can have a dolphin like Kaio, who loves just kisses and just wants to be told she's beautiful the whole entire session. And then we can have a dolphin like Santini, who's our straight A student, just loves to fly through the air and show everybody just how incredible she is. And then other dolphins like Tanner, who's our research star that just loves thinking out of the box. So just getting to see each individual dolphin beforehand, before we even get down into the docks and, get to know them, that just helps in just creating those incredible relationships that we have with each and every single one of our animals here. And so because of that, just building relationships is one of my favorites. Even before food, just getting down and doing dock time, where in the beginning of the day, the first thing we do, we might just go down and sit on the docks and give them back rubs and just, tell them good morning, which is truly incredible. You can't say that every facility does that, which is perfectly okay. And then, as Jamie mentioned, behavior modification and training. That is what we do. And just getting to see how each individual dolphin learns is truly incredible. I learn completely different than Jamie may learn, and that's the same for every dolphin. We want to treat them as individuals. They have their own thoughts and feelings, and they have their own dolphinalities. So getting to essentially learn that and respect that aspect of their lives is amazing. And so just it's truly incredible. But building relationships and behavior mod it's cool. Just seeing how they learn, how they complete a behavior, and then to see and show everybody there at the facility who's there for the day. You can say, oh, I train that behavior because they're so intelligent, because that's great mental and physical stimulation and awesome enrichment for them. Seeing different faces every single day. I mean, I see all 26 dolphins and all 4 California sea lions. So even just the way I train is different than Jamie's way that she trains. And getting to show them that, and just it's really amazing. So DRC is an incredible place. So yeah.
Excellent job, ladies. Thank you guys for sharing that information, especially about your favorite classes. That's always fun to hear from the students what they enjoy the most. So just a quick reminder that the degree that is received from completing this 36-week, about 9-month program is I can't speak straight today. An Occupational Associate's degree, and that is in Marine Mammal Behavior, Care, and Training. Even though you do get to work with additional animals and species such as the parrots, as well as the dogs, the Occupational Associate's degree is in Marine Mammal Behavior, Care, and Training. And we have some pretty distinguished alumni. Jamie, would you like to tell us a little bit about where some of our alumni have ended up?
Of course. So we have alumni who have been all over the country of the United States, and they work with multiple species, and there's been multiple places. So we've had a couple of them go to SeaWorld, Discovery Cove, which is SeaWorld's sister's facility, the Navy Marine Mammal Program, of course here at Dolphin Research Center. So in addition to Mallory, there's a few other students that have been hired here at DRC. Theater of the Sea and Marine Land. We've had a couple that have gone on to be dog trainers and also work at Zoo Miami. So we're very proud of our alumni, and they are living their dreams. And it's amazing to see and amazing to watch them live those dreams.
Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about, since the students would be coming on facility, all of those classes are on facility. That means they're going to spend about 9 months living in the Florida Keys.
Yes.
What is it like living in the Florida Keys?
It's a little different. So you're living on an island, and where we're located in the Keys, it is about 2 hours from Miami. So cost of living is fairly expensive, depending upon, your living accommodations. If you're not living at the residence that's here on property, you can expect to spend approximately $1,000 to $1,200 per month in food, lodging, and other expenses. Some various weather tips. In the winter, a lot of people think that that's the best time to come down to the Keys, and they're not wrong. It's a little bit cooler during that time, and it's usually sunny and mild to low humidity, but it generally ranges in the mid-60s at night to the high to mid upper 70s. However, it's very unpredictable. So one day it can be fairly cold, sometimes in the 50s, which is pretty cold for us. It's when we pull out, our big jackets and things like that. And then other days, like the next day, it could be in the 80s. So you got to be prepared for just different temperatures. And then the water temperature is anywhere from the low to mid 70s. It can get a bit chillier than that. But a lot of times with comfort level, people like to wear wetsuits or, a thin skin type material. Summer is extremely hot. So when students first come down here, it's at the end of August. September and October can still be fairly hot down here. And the sun, we're pretty close to the equator. We are considered in the Caribbean. So sunscreen is an absolute must. And also staying hydrated is a must as well. So it can definitely be pretty hot and pretty hard if you're not used to it. And then spring and fall is transitions between summer and winter, and they're fairly lovely down here, I feel. You get a nice breeze usually, and it's beautiful. So it's definitely something to get used to. I've lived in Florida my entire life, so I've been pretty used to it. Mallory's originally from Ohio, so I think she's got a bit of a different transition than I do. So I don't know if you want to share a little bit about how you kind of helped out with that transition.
So as Jamie mentioned, I actually grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, but then went to school in Buffalo, New York, and as you guys all know, they're both on the snow belt, so both really cold. I'm happy I don't need a shovel anymore, which is amazing. But it definitely is a huge transition. I mean, going from 30 degrees in the winter time to, 70 degrees in the winter time is definitely a big, big change, but worth it for sure. Living on an island, it's really nice. But you do have to worry about, of course, wherever you're from, there's always that chance of natural disasters. Unfortunately, we were hit by Hurricane Irma last year pretty bad. We're still trying to recover from that, but everywhere you go, there's always going to be, pluses and minuses. It's beautiful all year round here. We do live in the Caribbean, but there is that chance for hurricanes to come and, unfortunately, hit us. But we don't have to deal with snow. But of course, the hurricanes is not something that anybody really likes. But being 80 degrees, between 60 and 80 degrees all year is beautiful. But yes, when Jamie mentioned that it can get a little chilly here when it drops, 40 degrees overnight, just like it would drop 40 degrees anywhere, it does get cold. So we do, occasionally wear, jumpers and jackets and stuff to kind of heat up. And the water does get pretty chilly. It's starting to get cold now. It can go, Jamie said 70s. It was, I think, 60, 68 or something the other day. So we're definitely in wetsuits about now during this time. But, everywhere you go, there's always going to be those pluses and minuses. Jamie mentioned it is expensive to live down here. Most of us do have second jobs, but it's what you got to do in order to do something that you love. But, living on an island, of course, has its pluses and minuses. Jamie mentioned 2 hours away from Miami. So going home, a lot of times, if you do live somewhere else, is a bit tricky. You definitely have to plan it out according to, when everyone else is going to go home, the season, things like that. So it's not something you can always do on the drop of a hat, but you always make family and friends that turn into family wherever you work. So unfortunately, fortunately, I do have all my friends down here, and my coworkers are my family. So I do have somewhere to go if I can't go home for holidays and such. But it is a beautiful place to live, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Very exciting to hear that description of the Florida Keys. And it is very true. It's a very, Dolphin Research Center and Dolphin Research Center Training Institute are small facilities. They're small organizations. And so because of that, everybody is like family. It's like just having one big extended family. So Jamie, can you tell us a little bit more about the program costs and what housing and financial aid are like?
Okay, most definitely. So first off, there's no application fee, so there's no reason to not apply. Right. So encourage whoever that this is something that they want to do, this is their dream, encourage them to apply because it doesn't cost anything except maybe some postage. Tuition is $20,000 per year, There is an enrollment fee of $150, and then a uniform and materials fee $200, and a graduation fee of $30. So your total cost for tuition and fees is $20,380. As we mentioned before, housing is on a first-come, first-served basis, and it averages about $375 per month, which is going to be the cheapest that you're going to find down here in the Keys. And it includes utilities, but depending on the number of people that are sharing the room, because there are 3 rooms, so it would be about 2 people per room, the price may fluctuate just a little bit. We do have some financial aid, so we have 1 full scholarship. We have 1 $2,000 scholarship, and then there are 2 $150 work study awards, and that's monthly. And the work study award is essentially when you live in the residence, there are 2 students who are chosen for this award who help keep the residence a little bit more tidy and clean. That doesn't mean that the other 4 students living in the house don't help out. They definitely do, but the other 2 do just a little bit more. We are in the process of applying for Title IV funding, so in the future, which we will definitely keep everybody updated on, we would like to be able to accept Title IV funding, which is government grants and loans and things like that. So currently we do not have that. However, we do accept GI Bill funding for qualified applicants. So we're definitely in the process of making it easier to get that financial aid, but we do have an application process to go through in order to get that done.
For those of you guys that aren't familiar with the term Title IV funding, if you are familiar with having to fill out a FAFSA for financial aid, the FAFSA form for any type of funding and scholarships and whatnot throughout a school, that's what Title IV funding is. So that's what we're referring to when we hear the Title IV term. So Jamie and Mallory, I want to go ahead and go over some of our frequently asked questions, ones that we've gotten through other webinars or common ones that we've heard from students. One of the common ones I actually do hear from people, kind of a surprising one though, but makes sense because we do work with animals, is where do all of the animals come from?
Good question. Majority of them are born here when it comes to our dolphin family. 21 of the 26 were born here, and the other 5 have varying backgrounds. 3 of them were rescued from the wild. One of those is Jax. He was attacked by a shark in the St. Johns River, and that was back in about 2007. He came here in 2008, and he survived the attack, and they did rescue him. And anytime there is a rescued animal from the wild, the government is essentially the organization that deems them either releasable back into the wild or if they get a permanent home in a human care facility. So the 3 dolphins that we're going to mention were all fairly young when their specific instances happened to them, and so the government said that they needed to have a permanent home at and they granted DRC to be that home. So Jax, who again was a survivor of shark attack, and then we have Louie, who, if you guys remember the 2010 Gulf oil spill, he came to us. He was found stranded on a beach after that oil spill and had some other injuries and things like that. So he came to us back in about the end of 2010, I believe it was. And then Summer came to us about 5 years ago, and she is a spotted dolphin, and she was found stranded on a beach on the west coast of Florida. And again, all 3 of those dolphins were about 6 to 8 months old at the time. Again, they had to kind of take a guesstimate as to how old they were based on their size and things like that. So government did have us take them in, and they are now members of our flipper family. Our California sea lions have all come to us from different places. We have had sea lion births here in the past, but our current sea lions, 2 of them came from SeaWorld of Orlando, and that's Kilo and Diamond. Lena was rescued out in California. She was what we call a repeat strander. So she stranded herself about 5 times. On that 5th time, she was up on somebody's porch of their beach house. And so they think maybe somebody fed her, but they're not quite sure. But she was not afraid of humans, so they decided that she would not be a good candidate for re-release back out into the wild, and so we were able to give her that permanent home. And then Karen is our 4th sea lion, and she came to us from Gulf World up in Panama City, and she's 31 years old, so she's a fairly old lady. but she's been here for about 10 years now, so that's them. And then our birds have come to us from various places, so there are 9 of them. A lot of times when people decide that they want a bird as a pet, especially a large exotic parrot, they don't necessarily know what they're getting into. Parrots can live for about 80 years, if not more, and they're extremely loud and they can be fairly needy. So essentially these parrots needed a home, and fortunately for them, DRC was able to provide that home. And so we have their own training program. They have a training team that staff members are on, and training sessions on a daily basis with all of the birds. So that's where all of our animals come from.
Very good. All right, so the next question that we do sometimes get is, do we have any type of facility tour? Is there a way that people can come and see the residents or see the facility and determine if it's really for them?
Most definitely. If anybody is interested in the school and coming here, all they need to do is shoot us an email. We can set up a date. A lot of times people, when they're vacationing down here, they take advantage of that and come visit us for one day, and we can show them around, give them a little bit more information, or answer any questions that they might have about the school, and we would absolutely love that. So if you are down here in the Florida Keys and you want to come see what the facility is like, what the school's like, take a look at the residents, anything like that, we are more than happy to give people a tour and answer any questions that they might have.
Okay, Mallory, so can you tell us a little bit more about what your typical day as a student might be like?
Sure. So it depends on kind of where you are in classes versus where you are in like the 85% hands-on time. So some mornings you could wake up and have fish house. So fish house ranges, it's a big part of the day. Without you, you don't really have the rest of the day to happen, because you're kind of what helps the day get going and helps the animals get fed, things like that. So fish house starts at 7 in the morning, and it usually goes to about 12. So depending on how many people are in there. So my class, there was 4 of us, and then on one rotation, and then there was 3 of us on the other rotation. So it just depended on your day in the week. And usually fish house happens later on in the year. So I believe it started for us in December, and then it goes the rest of the year. So fish house, as I mentioned, 7 to 12. And then the rest of the day could be, handling labs from 12 to 5, where you're on sessions, and then you go, and after every single session, you go and receive your feedback from your instructor. So I could have a session in behavior modification where I'm learning to train a dolphin to, do a different behavior, whatever it may be at the time. We also have a class where we discuss what behavior we're going to be training that individual dolphin. And then after that session happens, we go back, and Jamie was my instructor for behavior modification. So she may give me, oh, this was amazing, and next time why don't you see, maybe this works better with this animal. So you get that really good feedback then that you can apply later on in your behavior mod class or your handling class. And then usually about 3 or 4 times a week, depending on, again, the time of the year, you have your swimming class or your physical aptitude class. So essentially where you build up, the muscles and being able to then pass any of the swim tests that any facility could give you. So what was really amazing was that we took every aspect from every facility that's the toughest to pass, and we blended it into a monthly swim test. And then that helps you in then progressing, so that if you went to any other facility and did a interview, then you could pass the swim test, which essentially is one of the major steps in getting a job in this field. And then some other days, if you don't have fish house, you could start at 9 o'clock. You can go straight to education, where we learn how to do those presentations, both in the theater and narrating to public. And then again, right after you're done with your narration, you have your either personal one-on-one time with your instructor, or you go back and you can talk about it in front of everybody. This is what you guys can all do to make it better, but awesome job otherwise. So depending on, again, what classes you have, handling lab, just learning, or even how to build those relationships, we still get feedback. Learning those individual dolphins all takes time with experienced trainers, or just us watching and then going, oh, did you see how they were interacting with this or this dolphin, so-and-so? So you can go and take that back later on in the day. And just every single day is a bit different, which helps in not only it varies our lives, but it varies the dolphins' lives as well. We're huge into creating variety in both the dolphins' lives as well as the people's lives, which is really cool.
But every day is a bit different. So it could be, you know, education to the start of the day, followed by handling, lunch. Lunch is in there as well. We do get lunch. And then after lunch, we could go back to handling and then finish up with phys ed. So every day is a bit different. It could be, you know, in the morning you wake up and go to the avian or the bird training class, get your feedback, and then go, you know, to lunch early. And then it could be we just go to our controversies class. So we learn about those different controversies that are within the marine mammal field. And then that just helps us then later on in our future. But every day is different, which is really nice. The variety definitely helps. It's not the same thing every single day. When I would go to college, I had the same schedule, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday. So I kind of knew what to expect. But having that variety definitely keeps, you know, the flow going. And then having that awesome feedback afterwards definitely helps us in furthering not only our experience within the college, but then would help us in then carrying our experience into the marine mammal field, so that we can then extend our roots to other facilities, which is pretty cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Mallory, for our webinar and learning more about our fabulous Florida Keys facility. If there are additional questions that you do have, please feel free to contact us and email us. Of course, all that information is here on the very same webpage that you access this webinar through. If you would like to, and also right on up here on the screen, nice and convenient for you as well. If you're looking for more information about our dolphin family or also our instructors, that information can also be found on the website. You can find very specific stories about each individual animal. So your animal family instructors, you can learn a lot more about them as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Jamie and Mallory for us to say goodbye and see you soon.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. We absolutely love sharing about what we do, about our animal family, and we hope that we hear from some of you.
Bye, guys.